Welcome, everybody, to the Monthly Movie Dispatch, the show where we get together every month and we talk about which movies have come out, which ones we recommend and want you to see. The thing that differentiates us from the other 100,000 movie shows on YouTube is that we are four high school friends and we've been talking movies for years and we'd be talking about them even if no one was listening. This is kind of a different episode because the state of the world is in a very unique place. So, real quick, we're going to go over who's with us today. We've got Brandon Bowlby in New York City.
How's it going, guys?
We've got Sean in Seattle.
Hey.
Derek, you're in Everett.
Hi.
And yeah, I'm Nick Moffat, and I'm in Marysville today. So, right now, we're all sheltering in place. I think both of our states that we're in have been pretty much on lockdown. I know New York City's in lockdown and Seattle and everything. Washington is sheltering in place. I came up to my parents' house and we're just kind of holed up here, not doing anything, doing the social distance thing because of the coronavirus. And it's kind of a weird month because movies and the entertainment industry has basically been turned into a standstill. All the movie theaters are closed. There's a few movies that have come out on home video or digital that you could watch, but we don't have. We have a few recommendations that we're going to go over, but I don't know. I kind of just miss you guys. I kind of want to just hang out with you. I want to know about what your lives are like with this current situation we're in. Brandon, what's New York City like?
This is kind of like our version of all those Zoom hangout sessions everyone's been doing with friends. This is totally what this is reminding me of right now.
Right, like we're like the hipsters who have been doing this before the coronavirus was cool, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, New York isn't that different for me, at least. I've been playing a lot more like online video games with some of my friends. But besides that, I've been working from home, walking to Bodega to get groceries, and going for runs outside. The parks are still super crowded, but the streets and sidewalks are pretty empty. My work closed, and I've just been working from my laptop here on my couch for the last 2 weeks.
Word. I feel like New York would be kind of a scary place to be in just because everyone's so close together and on top of each other and riding the subway and stuff. Are you still taking the subway?
I haven't taken the subway because I haven't had anywhere to go for a bit. So I met up with some friends like at a park to just go for a walk, but I ran there. So I actually haven't been on the subway in a bit.
All right.
Are people in general avoiding the subway? Do you have any?
Honestly, I think the subway is pretty safe at this point because it's empty and you actually don't have to touch a single thing when you're on the subway. So I don't see it as any more dangerous than anywhere else than going to a grocery store or something. Because you can walk in there and completely hands-free get a ride all the way across New York.
I don't know, man. Every time I've gone on one of those compartments, they're pretty small, and whenever I don't hold on to that little pole, I go flying, and across the floor.
You could lean like your butt up against the door. There's different strategies.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not too different for you, except for the working at home thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of a homebody regardless.
Word. I mean, was that kind of weird for you to go out and hang out with your friends? Like, I don't know. For us, I think most people are kind of avoiding each other. Is that?
Well, we did it outside. We went for a walk for an hour and a half, and we didn't hand anything off to each other. We just kind of strolled around and chatted. So it was nice, and we didn't hug or shake hands or pass our phones back and forth or anything like that. So we tried to obey all the rules.
Word. Well, is there anything, out of the ordinary or anything you'd like to say that, you've been doing differently, like entertainment-wise to keep yourself busy while you've been
Been playing a lot.
Even more than normal.
Been playing a lot of guitar. Ton of guitar. Been getting better. It's been a long road, but I finally feel like I can play what I want to play, and it's nice. And besides that, I've also been playing a lot more video games. But the main thing I want to talk about is a movie I watched a couple nights ago, finally, Contagion. And this is mostly, Nick, inspired by your 4.5-star review on Letterboxd. I was really excited to see it. Sean and Derek, have you guys checked this movie out?
I've not seen it.
Okay.
I love that movie, but I don't think I'd be able to watch it right now because I think it might freak me out too much.
Yeah, it's so real. It's almost like comical at parts that it's so real. Like when they go into like a montage, like 40 minutes into the movie, of people clearing out the stores and like slowly grabbing cans and toilet paper and just like convenience store shelves just like emptying down, and it's crazy how on point it is. But besides just that, guys, it's a fucking amazing film. I loved it so much. It's like super slick. Steven Soderbergh's directing on that is really like crisp and precise. And the amount of characters he jams into that film is really fun to watch. It's just like, it's such a global story. And you get a sense of what all these characters are doing and how they're contributing to the solution. And Nick, I have to say, I don't know how much you remember it, but I think Jude Law's character is kind of the most interesting. And I really liked how his story played out throughout the film.
Jude Law was the reporter, right? That was being prosecuted by the government a little bit.
Yeah, he's like
things they didn't want him to be reporting on.
It's the underground anti-government like blog poster. And his character was so subtly done. Like at the start, you think the story is going to be about him actually like exposing the government. And then you kind of start realizing he's just might be a fraud. And then they never kind of tell you like which way it is. And it's just like the way it plays out is so smart and subtle. And it's just like, great kind of cliffhanger, unanswered questions.
Yeah, I remember how his story ends too. And it's pretty shocking.
Yeah. I mean, Sean, what's that movie you loved on Netflix?
Outbreak?
Outbreak.
Talking about?
Yeah, it's like his character is the story of Outbreak. Like the government is literally trying to murder everybody. But it's done in actually a good way of storytelling as opposed to that movie, which is just ridiculous.
The other thing that I remember really well about Contagion, I mean, the thing about Contagion is that there's a bunch of different characters, and they are, there's a bunch of different stories being told all at once. But I remember, I can't remember if it was part of the same montage you mentioned earlier, but there's a montage where they show how germs are spread, like on doorknobs and through coughing and like a lot of like surfaces that you wouldn't think of. And I remember that being really scary.
It's cool because it's maybe there is a montage, but in my head I'm remembering it's less of a montage and more of just like they decide to edit in these moments with every character you're seeing of just like that you normally wouldn't get a shot of just someone holding onto the subway handle and someone just like taking a drink of water or like giving some change to somebody else. And they just focus on these like insignificant moments that these characters are doing. And they're not saying whether they're actually passing germs or not, but it's just getting psychologically into your head that like, this is fucked up stuff we do all the time that puts our friends and family in danger. And it's just kind of throughout the movie. It's really clever.
I think it should be said that the virus in Contagion is a lot worse than what we're going through right now.
Yeah.
But it is like, I do think that element of the unknown and the psychological warfare that that movie covers is also what we're going through right now with our situation. Like how how risky is it? Like, how dangerous is it to go out in public? Should we be hanging out with our friends? Like, what is the risk? And I mean, clearly certain governments have said that the best thing is to shelter in place and not see anybody, but you can't help but wonder, going to the grocery store, is that too much of a risk? Like, there's the psychological element on top of the physical germ being spread,
right,
that you have to kind of battle within yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's unknown. So.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say, I know this movie's kind of trending right now because of the circumstances, but it's actually a remarkably good film. Go see it.
So Contagion is better than.
I do have one more film I want to talk about real quick.
It's better than Outbreak.
It's better than Outbreak for sure.
I remember Outbreak kind of being more of felt more like a big event movie than Contagion was kind of just like the smaller Steven Soderbergh movie that just kind of came and went.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Outbreak is kind of more of like a 90s shot like an action film.
Blockbuster type thing. Yeah.
But I just want to do a shout out to this late 2019 film I finally got around to seeing because it's streaming on demand. Is Trey Edward Schultz's third film, Waves. This is a super mega drama of all dramas. And whether you think everything lands or not, this director is constantly pushing himself and doing something very different from each of his films before. And I really liked it a lot. One thing that stood out to me is just the soundtrack could not be any more curated towards me. And I started laughing at several parts because I was just like, this is my playlist. How the hell? Trey Edward Schultz is onto me. It's literally Animal Collective comes on and the lead character singing along with it at one point. It's ridiculous. But yeah, a great heavy drama with a lot of style. And I don't think it's going to hit for everyone, but you'll still appreciate what he's doing.
Cool. Yeah. I missed that one last year, but yeah, seeing the soundtrack does make me a little more interested. Frank Ocean's on there, I think, and a bunch of others.
Tyler, the Creator, Nick.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Sean, you're holed up in Ballard, right?
Yeah.
Seattle. How's that going for you?
It's mostly going pretty good. Just hanging out, and it is nice to be in the city and be able to just walk to places to get food and walk to get groceries. Go get coffee in the morning, and kind of gets us out of the house and out and about. Been doing a little bit of biking. But I'm looking out the window right now, looking at Ballard, but it's pretty dead out there. There's definitely some people walking around, but last night was the first weekend that we were under the actual orders, and it was very dead in Ballard. Unlike I've ever seen before. But yeah, we're doing all right. Doing a lot of Skype calls and hangouts, and yeah. We actually go ahead.
No, it's okay. What were you saying?
I was going to say we discovered this. It's like a Google Chrome add-on feature that lets you sync up a movie with another Netflix account.
Netflix Party.
Yeah, Netflix Party. Which works okay. We ended up having to mute our audio because there was some echo in there, but it was kind of cool.
The movie.
Yeah, we were hearing the other movie.
That makes sense.
Through their microphone. But yeah, it was pretty fun. We watched Hush, I think, which was okay. But yeah, I've been a lot of hanging out, watching some sitcoms, and been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine just to, just kind of binge watching that. Been cooking a lot, and been playing video games. I'm playing Dead Cells, which Brandon recommended to me.
Hell yeah. So good.
It's pretty fun. And then, I've been watching some some TV shows, some HBO TV shows that I've been meaning to watch. I guess I've been watching Deadwood. I actually finished Deadwood. Kind of blew through that.
People put that show on like a pedestal.
Yeah, it's really good. It's been kind of on my to-do list since I was doing my Westerns anthology. I kind of started it, but then stopped a few episodes in, maybe a year or two ago. But then just picked it up, and it was, it was kind of blowing me away. It's a early HBO type show. And I feel like it's kind of along the lines of The Sopranos in that it doesn't really have a continuous, like one single continuous storyline that every episode is pushing forward. It's more like, it's more just about this newly forming mining town in, I believe it's North Dakota or one of the Dakotas. And it's just about kind of the daily lives and the problems that the town runs into. And it's just like, it's also kind of like Sopranos in that it's really subtle. Like it spends a lot of time building to these really brilliantly put together, like very subtle payoffs. And it's just like, it's something small, like just a little look or just some kind of nod to the audience that was like set up over several episodes, but it just like, it's so interesting and so subtle and brilliantly done. But yeah, it's, I really enjoyed it. I haven't seen the movie. The movie came out, 2018 or
came out last year. I watched
last
it.
Year,
I watched it last year. Yeah.
Yep.
Never heard of this.
So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I haven't seen that yet.
Is it a sequel?
Well, it looks like, it's a decade or like maybe 15 years after the final season aired, but it looks like it just kind of picks up right where the show left off. I watched a trailer for it, and it's Nick, did you watch the whole show before you saw the movie?
I watched the first season and I loved it. I have it on DVD, weirdly. Like, I don't have a lot of shows on DVD, but I actually have that one on DVD, and I loved it. I echo everything you're saying. Maybe not as much. I feel like it did it was like, I felt like it was like an in-between between The Sopranos and The Wire. Like, they all came around at the same time, and I think a lot of people put Deadwood right up there with those shows if they were watching it, like, live. You know, I think a lot of people are like, that was the epitome of TV at the time. And I feel like there was a little bit more story than The Sopranos has, but less than what The Wire has. Because I do remember things kind of going back and like kind of there being thread lines. But I remember things being subtle, but also like there were also like really shocking things that would just happen, you know, like how HBO does, where you're just like, what? I thought that was a main character, you know, or whatever. But
yeah, definitely. Yep.
But yeah, so I only saw the first season. I don't know why I didn't get around to finishing the rest of the show. I guess probably because I had it on DVD. I didn't have the other ones. But then, I don't know, the movie came out last year and I just read a little bit about it and kind of was like, well, screw it. I don't know. It's a cheat. I know I like kind of like cheated myself on the whole story of Deadwood, but I just really wanted to see the movie because I had heard great things about it on a podcast, and so I just watched it, and I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was like as far as I could tell, it took place a little bit of time after the finale, but because it was like characters were kind of coming back to the town as if they'd been gone for a while. But
so season 3 ends almost as if they were expecting to do another season. Like it almost felt like they were just kind of canceled out of the blue. Yeah. And didn't get a chance to wrap hardly anything up. People have been there was a season arc that kind of happened and came to an end, but yeah, it definitely looked like they had more plans for it, and all they did, they were canceled. At least it felt like they were canceled unexpectedly, and then got a chance to make this movie 15 years later or so.
Yeah.
And they just were like, well, let's just do exactly the story, wrap up that story exactly as we were planning to. But now it's just 15 years later.
Fuck it. Why not?
In the story. So like it looks like everyone's coming back and resolving the problems and the issues that the third season ends with.
Yeah, people have been
that's
wanting
actually
that
pretty cool.
the like a continuation for years. Like ever
Yeah.
since I heard of Deadwood, it was like we're waiting for that movie or the next season to come out. So
Yeah, I mean it needed it for sure. It ended pretty abruptly. So I'm really glad that there's a movie now.
well, what's really cool about Deadwood too, it's not just to recommend it to people, is that it is one of these HBO shows that I'm pretty sure only has like 13 episodes a season. I mean, they're long episodes, right? They're like an hour long, but I mean, in this time of quarantine, of sheltering in place, you could jump on some of these HBO shows. Same with The Sopranos and The Wire. Like, they're only 13 episodes, so I feel like with shows like that came out so long ago, you have this idea of them being huge projects that you would have to commit yourself to, but man, Deadwood's only 3 seasons and a movie of 13 episodes, so very manageable to work through at this time where you're not doing anything else except for watching TV. So
Yeah.
I then me and Kelly have been rewatching Game of Thrones. Basically, we wanted to start the show over leading up to the new season, the final season of Game of Thrones last year. And we only got through like season 3 or so before 3 or 4 before the final season came out. So then we just watched the final season. Then we kind of slowly had been watching the rest of the show since. But we finally finished it last night. We watched the last episode. We rewatched the last episode for the first time. And, yeah, I mean, I gotta say, like, I know a lot of people really hate the show, or at least really hate the final season.
yeah, a lot of people.
But
complain about that.
I'm really into it. I'm really into a lot of stuff. So, I mean, I will put a disclaimer in there that I agree that if they had at least, I think what they should have done is done a full 10 episode season 7, ended season 7 with the big battle at Winterfell. And then the final season was, if they had done a 10 episode final season, ending it pretty much the same way that they ended the show, but having a lot more room to breathe, and kind of slow things down a little bit. I think the show would have been kind of perfect.
I agree
think,
completely, Sean. Completely agree, honestly.
But yeah, I mean, and I fully recognize that the show would have greatly benefited from that. But in spite of that, like what we get, I think there are a lot of really compelling and interesting, and really interesting wrap-ups of all the characters. And I guess I don't really want to. I don't know if can we spoil. Can we spoil the ending to Game of Thrones?
I do have one.
Right.
I do have one all-encompassing question.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess I'll just say Daenerys, the way that they ended Daenerys' character, I think not only was really well done, but it was like inevitable. The way that they built up her character over the course of the show is fucking brilliant. And that ending that they gave to her is so interesting and says so much about humanity. And I think is like not just genius for her character, but genius on a meta level because of what they did to the audience and the almost like the accusation that they are putting on the audience, like the tribalism and the way that we see our leaders and the system and like their commentary on that, I think is fucking brilliant. But yeah,
Can I ask my big question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Revised Game of Thrones season power ranking. Don't think about it. Just go.
Oh, shoot.
Just go.
Don't think about it. Okay, so, I mean, I think 4 is probably the best. Just in that there's the most stuff happens. Like every episode, something big and crazy happens. And then 1 is right there with it. Oh God, it's so hard.
Bam,
and then
bam, bam.
3, 2, no, maybe 2, 3. I don't know. And then those 2 are tied. And then I think 5, 6 are tied. Maybe 7, 8 are tied.
Okay, so then it climbs down after that. Okay,
So
cool.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I feel like this is the conversation for another podcast. No offense, but like I would love. I feel like we could talk about the end of Game of Thrones and the ranking of Game of Thrones for an hour and a half by itself, or a whole podcast series by itself. But we don't have super amount of time to get into that. So, anything else you want to you keep them busy with, or?
I finally watched Gone with the Wind. Was that yesterday? Yeah, I guess yesterday as well. And man, that is the first 2 hours of that movie is a masterpiece. 5-star movie. I'm not so sure about the second half, especially the last hour or so of the movie. But yeah,
yeah, I mean, the game Gone with the Wind is a weird movie. It was I saw it in 2018, and it was very different than what I was expecting. Like I was totally expecting a romance, and it was not a romance at all. Really, it was like an anti-romance kind of, and there was a lot of tragedy in it, and the ending left me perplexed. But I thought it was great, though. I gave it 4.5 stars. But
I mean, I definitely give the first 2 hours maybe like 2.5 or so. Easily 5 stars. One of the best movies ever made. But but like you say, you thought it was a romance, and then it wasn't a romance. It was an anti-romance. I agree, until like the last hour of the film. I think it kind of falls apart and like pushes its main character, Scarlett O'Hara, to the wayside, and she becomes really uninteresting and has no agency, and so it kind of fell apart for me in the end, but I did really enjoy most of it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Gone with the Wind, perfect time to watch Gone with the Wind. I must say, with all this time that we have, it's like 4 hours long.
On that, Sean.
I was just watching. I just watched a movie called Obvious Child, and it's about a girl who gets an abortion. And at the end of the movie, they're like, "What are we gonna do after this abortion? We just have to sit here on the couch. Maybe we should watch Gone with the Wind." Yeah, but it's so long. Yeah, but what else are we doing? Might as well watch it. So they watched Gone with the Wind, and that's how the movie ends. So just like getting an abortion, the coronavirus is a great opportunity to watch Gone with the Wind.
That movie was in Derek's top 10.
Yeah, it was long. When the movie came out.
They came out a while back, 2011 or 13 or something. It was all right. But cool. Well, Derek, speaking of your top 10, what's your life like there in Everett with Phoenix and your family?
It's not super different for me. I'm one of the lucky or unlucky people that get to go to work still. But just work has become kind of miserable for everybody, because it's just, it's like, you're not supposed to be out, but I don't know, there's like ways around different laws and stuff. So we're still working. Okay. And so nobody feels like they should be there. And, everyone's worried about getting sick, and it's just a really tough time.
Do you feel like your job is like one of the essential jobs?
Absolutely not. We're building a casino. So no, it has no effect on anything. But because of loopholes and because companies want to make money, we're still working. And then they kind of, I don't know, it's just one of those things. It's like, people are sick. It's only a matter of time before, it's a pretty big group of people working on a construction site. Probably over 100 people fairly close together. So it's like one person gets sick, everyone's going to get sick. And so it just makes for a really shitty environment for everyone because everyone's worried. And when you're working around stuff that could potentially kill people, it's dangerous to be worried all day,
Yeah, to be on edge. So, that sucks.
Yeah. So that sucks. But I guess the good thing is I'm still getting paid and stuff. But so for the most part, everything's kind of stayed the same for me. I'm just going to work and coming home and then hanging out.
Totally.
Just can't go see anyone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Totally. What have you been doing to keep yourself busy? Because you can't see anybody. Anything different for you?
Well, still, that's like what hasn't really changed a whole lot. I have a pretty big group of people that I play games with online. And I think if anything in this time, like games have only gotten they've skyrocketed, the amount of users and stuff online. Mm. So that hasn't changed at all. I still hang out and play some online games with all the same people.
What games? Quick recap.
Just no. I haven't really played much single player games. A lot of just competitive shooters and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So we've been playing Fortnite and Call of Duty came out with a new
Warfare. Yeah, I'm going to play Warfare with my friends tonight for the first time.
Warzone.
Yeah, free to play.
Yeah, It's free and it's pretty good. It's fun. It's just those kind of games, that new genre, Battle Royale, where it just throws 150 people in a match together. They're really fun it's really casual to just jump in and play. And it's just fun when you're playing with people Yeah.
It seems like games are a really good source of social contact for this sort of situation that we're in. I'm not surprised at all that it's skyrocketing for users and people getting on board. And I feel like people like me don't really think about it too much because I don't really play games. But in terms of social distancing, that's the perfect thing to be doing.
Right.
Yeah, it's great because you're focusing on the game and you don't have to say anything, but then you can totally go in depth on a conversation with your friends throughout the 3 hours, 2 hours you're playing together. But it's not
awesome.
It's not like you have to small talk the whole time.
Right.
Well, and a lot of the people I play with are other people that have families and stuff. So we never really got together in person before this either because it's just we're so busy all the time, And so it's always been kind of a nice outlet to be able to hang out with people that just are busy all the time, It's so much easier to just walk in your bedroom and you can hang out with those people. And so this situation hasn't changed anything as far as that goes, but it's just nice that a lot more people are kind of embracing that now too. So the point where there's literally been lines to get into video games. It's just been so busy. There's been
servers are full.
Yeah, exactly. They've been maxing out. So,
yeah.
But yeah, other than that, Fargo season 4 just started, so I've been trying to catch up on that show. I've been watching Fargo season 3.
So curious, Derek. I didn't see season 3, but I loved 1 and 2.
That show's just every episode of that show just feels so ingenious. Just it's so simple and it's not a complicated show. You guys have seen Fargo the movie. It's very much they try to keep that same spirit of a bunch of kind of bumbling fools get involved in all these different, shitty situations, and then there's always a mystery and a detective and stuff like that. And so that's what every season of the show is. So it's not like incredibly complex, but the people involved with making it they're so smart. It just like, what can we do different this episode that we haven't done yet in any other episode? And they do that every episode. And so it's just always changing, and it's always got like a new artistic flair that it's so creative. You just get excited when you see like, oh, what? Oh, wow. Okay, this is interesting. There's literally a moment that I Googled the show, or no, what did it? Yeah, no, I was watching on Hulu. I had to back out to make sure I was still watching the show, because just what was happening on screen was so different from anything else I'd seen on the show. I was like, wait, did I accidentally switch to a different, what the heck? But no, this is still Fargo. It's just so quirky and weird. It just it just goes off in different ways, like just does different things all the time. And they don't like hold your hand through it either. So the show, like that specific moment, I think someone was reading a children's book, but instead of them just sitting there with the book open in front of children, like they just animate like you were in the book, like witnessing what they were talking. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah.
And it was so off from this like violent crime drama thing.
I could totally see that being really like surreal. You're watching it and wait, is this the right show? What?
Yeah. But they do that kind of stuff all the time. And it's fun to watch.
So Dirk, let me ask you. I've never seen. I love the movie Fargo. It's one of my favorite movies, and I've never seen the show. Is the show like all on Hulu? Like, is the whole thing on Hulu, or is just season 3? Like,
no, it's all on Hulu. In fact, nice. I think the new season is airing. It's like it. I think since Disney bought Fox, and Disney has a giant shares in Hulu. Like I think they own like 60% of Hulu. So now they're airing. They call it FX on Hulu. Now.
Yeah, there's
so it's
a huge
an FX
combo.
show. Yeah, but it's just going straight onto Hulu.
Okay.
And that's FX across the board on FX.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's another FX show actually I'm watching right now, which is Alex Garland's show, Devs.
Oh yeah.
It's another one of those FX on Hulu shows.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch that.
Is it pretty good?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's different. I don't think it's like quite as solid as his movies. It's not. But again, those are all condensed into 2 hours. This is like a 10-hour long show, but it's good. It's got his trademark, like just really interesting sci-fi premise and it just goes so deep into it. There's a lot of mysteries and stuff. It's got a great cast. It stars Nick Offerman and what's the girl's name? Sonoya Mizuno. She's the dancing robot in Ex Machina. That's the main character of the show. Yeah. But yeah, it's good. It's good. It's just it's slow. I mean, I don't know.
It's no Annihilation.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not quite as. I mean, none of his movies are straightforward, but they're straightforward in a way that they're really easy for anyone to get captivated by. I feel like this show's a little more. You got to be into this kind of stuff. I feel like it's all about. There's a lot of like Silicon Valley politics built into it, and that kind of stuff. So if you're not interested in that stuff, it's probably going to be less interesting. But
okay.
Nice.
Well, cool. Yeah, I've been meaning to. I just got back on Hulu. Yeah, I was hoping to be able to watch that show.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I like Alex Garland a lot. He's great. So, well, cool, Derek. I'm glad your life is fairly normal. If heightened stress, that's something we're all kind of just dealing with right now, this heightened stress thing, and how to get by and stuff. That's why we're talking about the entertainment that's available, so we could recommend some stuff that we're doing to get through this time. Keep your mind off of it. I know it's kind of weird for me. I know I've been extra paranoid. My wife is 8 months pregnant plus, and like the baby could come out after next week, pretty much anytime. She'll be at term, and it's pretty scary because if she gets sick, at this point the doctors would want to take the baby away from us, and like put it in quarantine if like we're sick, to keep the baby safe from the virus. But we don't want that to happen. Like that's pretty bad. So we so we're just trying to stay away from people as much as possible. We came up to my parents' house. We're hanging out here because they have a big yard and a big house, and it's nice for the toddler Lane to go running around and stuff. So it's been really nice up here. I feel really grateful to have such a solid support system to help me out and be willing to shelter in place as much as we are, because there's no point in them going out and doing stuff if we're not doing that. Like, what would be the point? So yeah, I mean, we're pretty much on lockdown, but it's nice being up here.
Yeah, you basically have your own personal park.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going pretty good though. I mean, I'm pretty busy all the time just with Lane. Keeping her busy is a full-time thing. My work has gone. I work at a high school, and it's all digital now. So in some ways, there's more work for me to do. I'm basically working from 7:30, 8 o'clock to 4:30, and just helping people with their tech problems. But everyone's using tech all the time now, so there's a lot of problems all the time, and it's pretty interesting. Like next week, they're actually going to start doing like normal class hours. So like at 8 o'clock for your history class first period, you got to get on to Google Meets, and the teacher's going to take attendance and do a lesson, and you have an assignment to do or whatever. And that's pretty interesting. Then it'll be like 80 minutes later, you have to go to your next class and go on to Google Meets there and sign in and do attendance. I'm really curious how it's going to go. The last couple of weeks, they've just been doing stuff on Google Classroom, and this week it's like, I think next week they're going to this, basically in school thing. I can't even imagine being a student through this, being like, I mean, we kind of, when we were in high school, the teachers went on strike, and we just had a longer summer and then had to be in school until like July, and they're trying to avoid that. But like, I mean, if this goes on, like there's a very real possibility that we could be out for the rest of the year. Like that's a possibility. And if that happens, like they wouldn't have graduation. Like I do the senior video, like I have to film and edit the senior video, and I don't have enough footage. So there was a bunch of stuff I was going to, events coming up at the end of the year that I was going to film at. So I don't know how I'm going to do the senior video and, stuff like that. AP testing, I'm the AP coordinator, and all of that has gone online now. Like even if we're back in school by May 4th, like AP testing is online either way. They've already decided. So that's a huge change. Like the testing that's huge. That's like a gigantic difference. So things are weird. We're living in a weird time. I want to tell you guys too about some entertainment that I've been really into lately. I like watching sports. I was kind of getting back into NBA basketball. I try to get back into NBA like after Christmas, like around February. I try to watch more like around the All-Star game. I like to try to get back into NBA around that time. And I was watching the game when they canceled the league. It was like a pretty surreal moment because like no one knew what was happening, and like a doctor came running out onto the court and like told the ref to don't let anyone. Yeah, dude, it was weird. It was crazy.
Like mid game.
No, like they were delaying the start of the game. So like what happened was a player on the Utah Jazz had symptoms, and he got tested, and he got tested positive. But I was trying to watch a game for another team that had played them like the night before, and so because that guy tested positive in a different city, they didn't want to start this other game where other people were probably exposed to it. And so
the info was coming in like as the game was starting.
Yeah, they first delayed it, and then the doctor came like running out. It was it was crazy. It was so weird. But so I mean, I'm a big wrestling fan though, and the crazy thing about wrestling is that they're still going on. Like there's new wrestling events that are still going. So, but they've been filming them at the Performance Center in Florida, in front of where they do training. Typically, they've been filming them there in front of no crowd. They still have all the chairs set up as if there would be a crowd there, but there's just nothing. And the wrestlers come out and they do their entrances and everything. I think the weirdest moment was when it was 316 for Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was like a Monday Night Raw and Stone Cold was there because it was 316 day. And he came out and he was like, "Give me a hell yeah!" And then it just like cut to the crowd. Well, the lack of crowd.
That's cool. They just
Did
played
you
it
give
out.
him a hell yeah, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty conflicted about it, honestly. Like, I think on one hand, I actually find it super interesting, and I like it more in some ways. Like, it kind of cuts out some of the BS. Like, just the crowd can be distracting, and it just like that you have to like just focus on what's in the ring. So like this guy Edge, he cut this promo a couple weeks ago, and he was just looking directly in the camera, and it was a silent ring, but he was like really expressing passion, and it was fire. Like, it was really good. And, with the wrestling, it's like they have to just like focus on the wrestling. So like they have to kind of try harder to keep you engaged. And it works with some guys. Like Daniel Bryan's had a few matches and I feel like they've all been fantastic. But like other people, it's like without the crowd reactions, it's less like engaging. But
some people rely on that.
Yeah.
To kind of like buy a lot of time doing that crowd stuff.
And I don't know if you watched it last night, Derek, but there was on SmackDown they had they had this segment with Elias and King Corbin, and like Corbin basically like threw Elias like off of like a 2-story like ledge, and but they filmed it in a totally different way than they normally would. It was like, it was like these camera people have filmed the wrestling one way forever. And then they decided like, oh, well, we got to get creative because there's no crowd. So, and they like had an over the shoulder shot and they cut away in a dramatic fashion. It was, but yeah, I mean, they're still doing WrestleMania, which is crazy. Like WrestleMania is their biggest event.
So weird.
Yeah, no. So it's like 80,000 people are typically there with like hella pyro. It was supposed to be at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Stadium, but it's going to be at the Performance Center. And I'm still pretty excited about it. It's so wrestling that they would just go on. They would trudge on through this. Like, of course,
miss a beat.
Yeah, of course they would just keep going. But I mean, it's pretty scary too, though, because these guys are like, they still have to work. They have to like breathe into each other's faces. Basically, they have to like, lock up. And I mean, for example, like Roman Reigns, he's probably one of the biggest guys in wrestling right now. At least a full-time wrestler, and he's battled leukemia the last few years, and he was supposed to have a match at WrestleMania against Goldberg for the Universal title, and he just yesterday or a couple days ago said like, I can't do this. It's too much of a risk. I'm a high risk population. Like my immune system is compromised, and so he's backing out of it. And it's like, it's very like, I mean, that's a real concern. So I'm really happy that wrestling's here, and I really like how they're being creative with it. But it is like, I don't know, it is sort of, is the risk worth it for some of these guys?
Have you been watching AEW too?
Yeah, I've been watching AEW too, and I feel like they're doing the same thing. They're getting pretty creative with it, and Matt Hardy just came to AEW, and his whole intro was like pretty exciting. He just like was in the empty crowd, just like doing his Matt Hardy face, his broken Matt Hardy face, and so yeah, wrestling's still going, and of course it is, and it's kind of more interesting than it was before in some weird ways. So yeah, that's what's keeping me pretty occupied, other than school and the baby and stuff. And I've also been just trying to watch a bunch of movies, which we can get into now. Now that we're like 40 minutes into the podcast, we do have some movies to talk about. The weird thing about this month is that a lot of the movies that we might have seen already, like for April and March, haven't. I guess it's not April. Like, it's not April yet at all. I'm sorry, I misspoke. A lot of the movies that we would have seen for March, like, just didn't come out or have been delayed. And so, I mean, A Quiet Place 2, I think, is probably the biggest one, and Mulan is another big one, where, who knows, like, I feel like we definitely would have been talking about A Quiet Place 2. And, yeah, like, that'll come out later in the year. But, yeah, I definitely wanted to bring up a few movies that I saw in theaters and at home. I think the first one was The Invisible Man. And I think that was the last movie I saw in theaters. You guys saw that in theaters, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Derek, you didn't see it, but you guys saw it in theaters, right?
I streamed it last week on that new streaming program they're doing now.
Right. So that's the
on
weird
demand.
thing. That's the weird thing that's happening now too, is that these movies that were in theaters that were making decent money or whatever, and then all the theaters closed, like Regal and AMC, everything closed, and so they took these movies and put them on, like, what are they calling it, like Amazon Premiere or like the theater experience online or something.
I forget the exact title, but it's right up top, highlighted, and it's $20, so it's kind of more mimicking the theater price model, but you share it with friends or family, and it could just be like any other
Prime
rental.
Video Cinema is what Amazon's calling theirs.
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty interesting. Like, a lot of theater owners aren't happy about it, especially with the movies that aren't out yet. Like, I know a lot of theater owners were pretty upset about, what was it, the new Trolls movie that's coming out? Like, that was supposed to come out this weekend, but they're going to put it just out on digital next week. And a lot of theater owners are upset about that. And I mean, for I don't know, I guess good reason, but I don't totally know. I mean, I personally think this whole entertainment industry is going to bounce back and everything will, like, even out. But there still, like, needs to be, I don't know, entertainment for these people that are just sitting at home. So I think it's
and
kind
like
of cool.
certain movies that, you know, the Trolls movie, they probably can't really push it. Like, what are they going to do? You know, when would they push it to? And like, what would it be conflicting with as far as other movies that they're putting out, and what's it going to be up against? Like, those are big questions for studios. And maybe a movie like that, there's not really another place to put it. So, you know, just put it out online as if it were a big release for $20 and make some money off of it.
And then, like, kids at home too. Like, it just kind of makes sense for that movie to come out now. One thing that is, I was able to watch a few movies, and like Sonic the Hedgehog is out on digital. I watched that. The new Vin Diesel movie, I haven't watched it yet, but I know it's available. Bloodshot. Yeah, like I have that, like, on queue to watch next. The new Ben Affleck movie that was only out for like a week, The Way Back, I watched that. You know, and it's like, oh, they're just available. So, you know, it's like, kind of keep yourself busy.
Yeah.
It's just, these are movies that were supposed to be in theaters, like, right now. And I don't know if I would have had time to actually go to the theaters to see them. But because they're just, like, available on the internet, it's like, okay, well, I'll make time and make that happen. Anyway, I do want to talk about The Invisible Man a little bit more in depth, like, just because I thought it was fantastic. Like I said, this is the last movie I saw in theaters before all this went down. It's a pretty interesting movie. I'm just going to read the plot summary really quick. After staging his own suicide, a crazed scientist uses his power to become invisible to stalk and terrorize his ex-girlfriend. When the police refuse to believe her story, she decides to take matters into her own hands and fight back. So I thought this movie was fantastic on multiple levels. I do think that there's some issues with the plot. Like, I think that, like, under scrutiny, the plot might not totally hold up. Like, there's probably holes in it. But I walked out of the theater, like, having that general idea in my head, but then I quickly forgot about what those issues might be, because what I liked about the movie leveled out, like, was much more than what the plot issues might be. Like, I loved the scares. Like, I thought the tension in the movie was very, very intense, like very tight. There were a few really, really, really effective jump scares. Like, there were a couple moments where I like straight up just like yelled, like I cursed in the middle of the theater.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I also loved the subtext of the movie and how it was really just like about an abusive relationship, and how that can be psychological and physical. Like the psychological element of it being about this woman who, like, this guy makes her feel like she's crazy and makes everyone else think that she's crazy. And it's like, oh, so that is what an abusive relationship looks like. Or, I mean, can look like them. There's a lot of different kinds of abusive relationships, but like that, I thought it did a really great job of capturing that sort of thing of how that might look. And I did want to bring up how, like, I feel like we mentioned it on the last podcast or maybe that podcast before, but how the trailer gave away a lot of stuff. And the trailer initially makes it seem like maybe it's a ghost story, but then it's like, oh, it's an invisible man. And the question, I think, Sean, you brought it up, the question of like, would this movie have been better or scarier if like you didn't know if he was actually a ghost or not, or if he was actually invisible? And personally, I think like that is a totally worthwhile question, because like there's a lot of ghost stories and that mystery would have been very scary. But I think the point of the movie is to show what an abusive relationship looks like, and that's what the movie is really about, and that's where the real fear is. And I think like it was actually really smart for them to have it be about the invisible man. You know that's not a ghost, and that makes it scarier, personally. So what do you guys think that saw it?
Yeah, I really liked it. One thing I wanted to mention is the action scenes in the movie I thought were really intense and really well done and put together. Like, I think the first time I was really wowed by it was when she's like having the fight scene in her kitchen, and like it's just like she's just being tossed around this room and being like thrown on the floor. But she's like, she's not fighting anyone. It's like if she's fighting the invisible man, and like just the way it was like a one take shot and the way it was showing that scene, I thought was really creative and interestingly done. What's that guy's name? The director, he did,
Lee Wandell is the director.
Yeah. He did, what is it called? Upgrade. Last year, or the year before.
2 years.
I swear
and that had some really
mansion is the same location. I swear.
Is it? Oh, actually, maybe it is.
I don't know.
I feel like in Upgrade his house was a little smaller, but like that was a mansion with like with like a wall of security. Like that was a giant piece of property. But
do you have anything else?
But yeah, that movie had some really great action too. Upgrade did, and I think he brings that to this movie, which I kind of wasn't really expecting. I was expecting more like a horror kind of suspense movie. So yeah, that was a nice surprise too.
Yeah, I think the thing I probably liked the most about this is the intelligence that the main character had. And there's just like a lot of stuff written in that just showed her kind of trying to outsmart the invisible man. Like the like dirt on the bedroom floor, and just obviously there's stuff towards the end that gets very specific, but I just kind of liked how she was constantly doing things that was equally as clever as the things he was doing back to her. And that was just really fascinating to watch. And Elizabeth Moss, that's her name, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, her performance is great. Really, really outstanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's really good. And the movie does like a lot of really interesting things. I just want to touch on the opening real quick too. How like the movie starts with like she's like escaping from his house, and like she's like slowly like she like goes into the bathroom and she like does a couple things and make sure he doesn't wake up, and then she's like sneaking around his house in such a like interesting way, but like at first I was like, why can't she just leave? And then she gets out of there and she climbs over a fence and she runs through the woods, but before she leaves she accidentally sets off an alarm, and then he's there, like he like chases after her and he gets there to like where she's like escaping from, and it's like, I don't know, it just to me like really captured like the intensity of like leaving someone when you feel like you can't leave them, and I don't know, it's like super intense.
Yeah, and like that whole scene was had virtually no dialogue, and it sets up such an interesting dynamic for the rest of the movie. Like the way that like you get to feel so much how much she is afraid of him, and without even really seeing him, understand what he's capable of. And yeah, it was a really cleverly put together scene for sure.
Totally. Yeah, so I don't know. That was The Invisible Man. Like I said, you guys can watch it right now on what was it, Amazon Prime Premiere or something, or iTunes Theater Experience, or whatever they're calling these things. But yeah, you can watch it right now on the internet. Get some friends and watch a new movie. It's really good. Another movie that's surprisingly available already is Onward, the new Pixar movie. This is available on the same way where you can stream it. You can pay $20 and rent it, or I think it's actually going to be on Disney Plus, like April 4th. So for those of you who have Disney Plus, you'll be able to stream the new Pixar movie just very soon. Brandon, do you want to set us up with Onward?
Yeah, so I did stream this on Amazon as well. But the IMDb description is set in a suburban fantasy world. Two teenage elf brothers embark on a quest to discover if there is still magic out there in this world. So Pixar always makes great animated films, and I think this is an awesome, fun kids adventure. Coming off the back of Inside Out, Coco, and Toy Story 4, I don't think it's nearly as in-depth or impressive as those stories, or emotionally resonant as those. But overall, it's still just like a super tightly written children's Pixar movie. I kind of put it up like closer to like some of the top tier Disney ones, like Big Hero 6, or some more fun films like that.
Zootopia.
Yeah, Zootopia, Big Hero 6, just like really good, tight, fun movie you can watch for the kids with good morals.
You're saying it's a B Pixar movie, but an A Disney movie?
Exactly, yeah.
Is it better than Frozen?
Frozen's a D Disney movie.
Yeah.
Frozen's not that bad. Honestly.
You know what I think about Frozen.
I actually don't remember what you think about Frozen, but we don't need.
But you know, in no way is it like Monsters University level. Like it's much better than that type of Pixar. Anyway, so I for the most part really enjoyed it. I had a blast watching it. The pacing's great. The animation and quality is just so fun to watch nowadays with Pixar and their ridiculous level of detail in the environments. As we were talking about with Toy Story 4. I think one thing that kind of got to me with this movie, since it is supposed to be an adventure, and by the time they actually get to adventuring and hitting their main obstacles through their magic, I wish the movie had just been longer. Like, I wanted to watch them go further and get into more unique magical scenarios. Like crossing that bridge was so great, and I wanted 3 more of those things to happen. Because this is an adventure film, it would have been great for it to have been a longer Pixar movie. Yeah, so that's what I thought of the movie. What do you guys think?
So did you think that the movie was too short then? Like, would you have preferred it to be a little bit longer?
Yeah, I just, like, once they actually got out into the wilderness, like, there should have been another 15, 20 minutes of just, like, cool magic shit happening. Because for me, that was the best part of the movie, and it was so short, or it was just such the last third. But otherwise, great film, you know.
Yeah, I thought I mean, I kind of agree a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if the adventure part was.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
What?
Sorry, I was. I didn't hear that we were going again.
Oh,
That's
Yeah,
fine. Let's keep going right now.
just
Anyways,
keep going,
keep going.
no, I thought that the adventure part was good. I just I don't know if I would say it was my favorite part of the movie though, because I got really into the relationship with the brother. Like I thought like the central relationship of the two brothers and them like initially just trying to like figure out what the deal with the magic was. I thought that was like pretty great, and I don't know. I really liked how tight the movie was too. Like I easily watched it, and like I accidentally stayed up too late watching it because I got like I turned it on thinking like, oh, I'll watch like half of it and then watch the next half the next day, and then all of a sudden I was like completely invested and engaged, and it was like a pretty short movie, so I kind of just was like, well, I just kind of committed to watching the whole thing.
Yeah, Brandon, didn't you? How long did you say it was? It had like 10 minutes of
Yeah,
of
it had literally 10
credits,
minutes
and
of
then,
credits, so it's an hour and like 30 minutes exactly.
Yeah.
So, question: movie comes out on Disney Plus in a week. Is it worth the $20 to watch it? Like, is it, or is it better just like wait, and watch it on stream?
Yeah, do Disney Plus at this point. You know,
Yeah.
I was kind of trying to cram it in for the podcast, but yeah, you should.
I only
you should
watched it
wait.
because Brandon paid for it on our Prime account.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I would have liked a little bit more of the fantasy stuff towards the end of the movie. I also thought it was a little strange in its structure. I felt like it started out with this interesting premise of, magic kind of fell out of existence over as technology got better, and then no one really has magic anymore. But then I thought they kind of abandoned that premise toward like halfway through the movie, and then it was a lot more about, it became about the journey that the kids are going on, and then it
Right.
like kind of subtly
Society-wise,
brought it back.
They abandoned that premise, but
Yeah.
personally, for the character we're watching, he does continue.
Yeah, which
but I see what you
which
mean.
was probably maybe for the better, because I was a little disinterested in the early on. But then as it kind of gets more into the fantasy stuff and they get more or further along their journey, I actually did get pretty into the movie, and I really enjoyed that central relationship. But yeah, I quite enjoyed the movie as well. Pretty much agree.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I thought there were like a bunch of emotional moments, like Pixar's really good at, but not as emotional as other Pixar movies. Like you mentioned, Inside Out and Coco and stuff. I definitely thought those were better and hit the emotional part harder. But I thought the ending was pretty emotional and came together in a way that I wasn't fully expecting. But yeah, I mean, Pixar just has such a like high standard that like this would be a lesser Pixar movie, and it wasn't, to me, it wasn't bad in any way, really. It just wasn't as good as the other ones.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
So yeah, Onward will be available pretty soon on Disney Plus, or you could stream it through Amazon or iTunes or whatever. I feel like Pixar does this every few years, where like they'll come out with 2 movies in a year, and one of them will be like a masterpiece, and the other will be like, okay, whatever. I would need to go back and like really double check this, but like, and it's not always hard and fast. Like last year, the only Pixar movie that came out was Toy Story, but
I think they had another movie scheduled for this year.
no, they do. Yes,
Spirit, or
it's called Soul, and
Soul.
that
I
one
think it
looks.
got pushed.
Yeah.
You don't think it's not supposed to come out this year anymore?
It's June 19th. That feels really soon.
Yeah, but yeah, that movie looks fantastic, though.
Oh, it hasn't been delayed yet.
Oh, I haven't seen a trailer for it. What?
That one looks really
I think they
great.
have 2 trailers for it out already. Yeah, it looks
Damn.
really good.
Okay, I'm
And,
going to check that out.
But I remember like the year that The Good Dinosaur came out. I think Inside Out also came out that year, and that was another one where it was like, yeah, Inside Out was a masterpiece, and Good Dinosaur was like just okay. But yeah, guys, What else is out? Birds of Prey is coming out this week, or it just came out last week on digital, and that's another one that was in theaters that most of us saw in theaters. Sean, do you want to set us up for Birds of Prey? Or what's that movie has 2 titles?
Yeah, it's a little weird. The IMDb still calls it Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, but I believe it has another title. I don't know if it's an official title or what's going on with that, but the other one is Harley Quinn: Birds of Prey, or Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey or something. But yeah, it actually came out February 7th, and I saw it in theaters. The premise is, after splitting with the Joker, Harley Quinn joins superheroes Black Canary, Huntress, and Renee Montoya to save a young girl from an evil crime lord. It has a pretty amazing cast. Margot Robbie, Rosie Perez, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and then it has Ewan McGregor, a few other interesting people in there. But yeah, I actually had a really good time with this movie. I thought it was really well directed. It had a really interesting energy, getting the movie kind of goes at Harley Quinn's pace. And there's a lot of her narration, and Margot Robbie is just fantastic in this movie. She's just an absolute star, and just a ton of fun to be around, and she's funny, and she's just kind of running around, doing what she does, she gets a bodega breakfast sandwich at one point. It's it turns into a whole thing throughout an extended 5-minute long action sequence. She has this bodega breakfast sandwich. I don't know, Brandon, did you relate to that?
I've been having so many bodega breakfast sandwiches. You have no idea. I missed out on that for 5 years in New York, and I've really been making up for it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, it definitely, the way that they prepare it and the way she describes it's like a food porn scene. It was really well done. But also I guess the action in this movie is kind of what made it so fun for me. It's really well put together action sequences, and just there's a ton of color and really interesting longer takes and bigger shots where multiple characters are kind of doing a bunch of things at different parts of the frame, and it's just really cleverly put together. I do think the movie has some pacing issues and some pretty big structural issues, mainly in the flashbacks. There's some bizarre flashbacks where in the middle of a really awesome action scene, they'll do a 10-minute flashback and then bring you back up to that point and keep going with the story.
Deadpool did that a lot, but I think it worked really well in that movie.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to think of
Birds of Prey wishes it was Deadpool. Sorry,
I've seen it compared. I've heard it compared to Deadpool a lot.
Yeah,
people are giving a lot of hype to that hospital sequence, which is pretty beautiful.
Yeah,
and I want to shout out the
police
car sequence in the climax, the car chase on rollerblades.
Yeah,
I really liked that. As much as I'm hit or miss on this movie as a whole, I just think that action scene needs to be shouted out more, because that rollerblade scene was great.
Yeah, for sure. I also did think the other the Birds of Prey characters were a little uninteresting, and they were all three kind of the same brooding badass character, and didn't, having three of them all together didn't really add anything to the scenes, I guess. They were all three kind of interchangeable, but Yeah, I thought I really liked Ewan McGregor's character, Black Mask. I thought he was really funny and did a really good job. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's just like, to me, it was just a really fun movie. I don't know if I would necessarily recommend everyone to see it in theaters, but if you're at home alone, if you're at home and looking for a fun movie to watch, I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah, well, it was one of those movies where it came out, like you said, early February, but it was still doing its theater run. Like, people were still seeing it. I feel like I saw it. I definitely saw it in March in the theaters. Me and Shannon Wynn saw it, and it was nice just to like get out of the house and go see a movie. It was kind of one of those things, and there were a bunch of people in the theater. Like, it definitely still had a theater run going on, but then obviously it's done being in theaters now, so it's not going to come back when the theaters open. So they just put it out onto digital early, so you have something to watch if you wanted to watch it. Yeah, I mean, I personally didn't think it was that great, but I also like wanted to support it because it was a female-led superhero movie that doesn't normally that's only happened a handful of times, and like not only was it starring Margot Robbie, who's pretty good in it, but it was also done by a female director, and I feel like
Kathy Yan.
Yeah, and I felt like it was almost like hypocritical for me to like. I like promoting female filmmakers. Like I actively like seeking them out, and it was like, am I really gonna see every other comic book movie, literally every other comic book movie, and skip out on this one? And so I felt like almost obligated that I had to go, and it was all right, but. I do think I do think they messed up on the marketing calling it Birds of Prey, because to me it was very much a Harley Quinn movie. They should have just gone with it being Harley Quinn. But so that also is available on streaming now, so you have the opportunity to go watch that if you want. I want to tell you guys about a Brazilian film that I've been really wanting to watch. This is another one where I had it marked on my calendar of when it was going to come to Seattle. It was released in Brazil back in October, I think. Carlos actually saw it in Brazil, and he gave it 5 stars, and just thought it was fantastic. And I read a bunch of reviews of it, and the concept just sounded like totally up my alley. So I was like really, really excited for it. It's called Bacurau, and it was supposed to come out like a couple weeks ago, and I marked my calendar. It was going to come to the SIFF theater in Seattle, and then the SIFF shut down that Friday, so it never came out. And so, interesting enough, there's this streaming service, a small streaming service called Kino Now, and they've partnered with some local theaters so that you could have like a virtual theater experience and rent the movie for $12 and watch it at home. And it supports the local theater in addition to actual money for the theater. So I actually rented it from BAM in New York City. So it was kind of like a funny thing renting it through that site to get it to. I just had never done anything like that before, but it's kind of an interesting way for these indies to kind of stay alive. So real quick, I'm just going to read the plot summary off of Letterboxd. Bacurau is a small town in the Brazilian Cerrado. It mourns the loss of its matriarch, who lived to be 94. Days later, its inhabitants notice that their community has vanished from most maps. So, everything I read about this movie before I saw it, like, hinted at sci-fi elements and drama elements, and said it was like had some action and crime in it too. And so like that to me like was enough of a hook. Like the fact that their town disappeared was like, okay, what does that mean? The matriarch died. Does that mean the whole town is gone? Did it ever exist in the first place? Are there aliens? Did they all get abducted? What just happened? And I really can't say too much about this movie. I don't really want to talk about it for too long because I feel like anything is a spoiler with this movie, because part of the joy of this movie is how it plays out and how it kind of changes styles and tones and presents different ideas of what the movie is. And it's kind of like a box that folds into other boxes as it comes apart. And I think it turns into something really interesting. I was like, it wasn't at all what I was expecting, but it definitely has something to say. It has a pretty strong message, and there are other movies that have similar ideas that have come out recently, but I think this one hits those ideas a lot harder in a lot better ways. So I mean, I don't know, I absolutely loved this movie. Brandon, you saw this movie too. Do you agree with me that we can't really talk about it too much? Or
I saw it this morning, actually.
Right.
I'd been looking forward to seeing it like you had. It's interesting how it becomes kind of a genre movie, and you don't really know when that's going to turn, or I don't know. It was more fun than I thought it was going to be, and the politics behind it is interesting. The way it plays out, I don't think I'm rolling as high on it as you. I'm not sure there was the depth that I wanted when it comes to the climax, but it's definitely a wild, interesting ride that I really liked.
So I mean, I initially gave it 5 stars on Letterboxd because I just thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was totally up my speed. Like, it was totally this is a movie that I love. And there is one big thing that a big complaint that I could have about it, and that's ultimately why I shifted it down to 4.5, because I do have something to say about the ending, but again, I don't want to say it right now. But I also gave it 5 stars because I do want people to watch it. I want people to to seek this movie out if it's on their radar or not. It's a really interesting movie. So again, it's called Bacurau. You spell that Bacurau, and it's a pretty awesome Brazilian movie. So you can rent it over Kino now and support your local theater through this coronavirus time, or just keep your eyes open for it. So, Brandon, you had another movie you wanted to mention.
Yeah. So film I watched 6 weeks ago is this new Japanese anime film called Weathering with You. Not that new. It came out last year in Japan, but slowly rolling out here in the States. Weathering with You. The IMDb synopsis is: a high school boy who has ran away to Tokyo befriends a girl who appears to be able to manipulate the weather. This is written and directed by Makoto Shinkai, and he's the infamous director who did the blockbuster anime Your Name that came out in 2017. It's one of the, I think it broke records in Japan for biggest release ever or something. So yeah, this is a follow-up movie, and it is really great. I am excited for you guys to watch it because it's as good as Your Name was, and I really liked Your Name as well.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys enjoy it too. And I think a lot of it comes down to the climax of this movie is so beautiful and well done, and the music is gorgeous, and it just hits so perfectly in the last 10 minutes, and everything comes together in a great way. So I'm the only one here who's seen the movie, so there's not going to be too much conversation, but yeah, go see it, please.
How did you watch it?
I saw it in a second-run cinema here in New York, so it's already out of theaters by far at this point. It just hasn't come out on streaming anywhere yet.
Right, it's in a weird place because it's not a major studio movie where they want to promote it in a time where people will be watching these movies, so they're kind of keeping it on its regular schedule, I guess. But yeah, I remember we were trying to get Sean to go to Bainbridge Island to go see it because he had said he'd wanted to see it, and it was the only theaters playing in Washington was on
so
Bainbridge
weird.
Island, and
Smallest theater possible.
And Sean wasn't willing to take a ferry to go see it, so
Yeah. Nope. Fortunately not.
So yeah, that was Weathering with You. So keep your eyes open for that. Derek, you wanted to bring up a movie that I wish was on streaming right now. I don't know why they're not making it available for home viewing, considering it seems to be a perfect movie to watch with your family right now in a time of stress.
Yeah, the Impractical Jokers movie. It was the last movie I saw in theaters at the beginning of the month. But yeah, for people that don't know, the Impractical Jokers, they're a group of comedian friends. Excuse me. Oh, God. They have a show on like True TV, I think. It's also on Netflix. Most of their seasons are on Netflix, where they kind of force each other to do funny things in public and try to get to a point where their friends say, no, I'm not going to do that. And if you don't do it, you lose. That's kind of a competition type thing. So they've been huge for a while now, and they just came out with their own movie. And for the most part, it was pretty fun. I think they kind of followed the Jackass route where, they use the movie as an excuse to kind of do bigger budgeted pranks type things, But I wish they followed Jackass more. So just like bit after bit after bit. In this movie, they kind of tried to do some weird storyline. And it does not work at all, I don't think. I don't know if I laughed a single minute of the storyline stuff. And it's a good chunk of the movie. It's probably almost half the movie. So that.
But how do the stunts compare to the TV?
They were definitely. It was just like I said, kind of like Jackass, where they were like bigger budgeted things that they wouldn't have been able to do on their little New York TV show that they just kind of do on the streets of New York. So this one took place all over the country. So they had like weird bits set up in like caverns, like underground and stuff like that were really fun. And yeah, they were all just as funny as the TV show. Those guys are like, they're just so witty that any situation you put them in, they come up with something funny. And they just use this as an excuse to put some money into those things as opposed to just the really low budget stuff they do on the show.
Mm-hmm. So. I mean, they're super funny. I love the show. I really wish this was just available right now so I could just turn on and have some big laughs, because that's what I need. And I cry laughing with this show sometimes. Like like they're so funny. Yeah, for sure. A lot of people were laughing a lot more than me, so maybe you guys will enjoy it more. I don't know, but I just kind of I was just hoping just give me the bits, just the the little games they play. Well, yeah, I mean it's kind of like the Borat thing or whatever, right? Where like there is a storyline to Borat, but that is like the least interesting part of the movie. It's like you're here to see him mess with people on the street or whatever. Right. You're not here to follow him across the country.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
Careful, Nick.
What?
Borat's amazing.
I don't even just mean Borat.
Like I'm thinking Borat
Academy Award-winning screenplay Borat.
I'm thinking of like Borat and Bruno, like all those. I just feel like the storyline element where like whatever the plot is always the least interesting part of these types of things.
Technically, yeah. I see what you mean.
That stuff's
Borat did win Best Original Screenplay. Or adapted? I don't know.
Adapted screenplay.
So
from the
I guess
book.
it would be adapted. From the show, I guess. Adapted from other character from something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Those things are always just funner when the unknown factor is introduced, which is the random people on the street that get pulled into these things.
Gosh, yeah. I mean, there's one episode where Joe just was like standing there and he was like, "Oh, thank God you're here," to a random person on the street. And like, I've just always wanted to start conversations that way with people. Just like, just go up to a stranger and go, "Oh, thank God you're here." Like, what is that?
Yeah. It sounds like, I don't know. It sounds like something Nick Rapier would be great at.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Anyway, I don't know. I don't have anything else to bring up with you guys, and we've been talking for a while. So, I think that pretty much wraps it up. I don't know
What's
about
on
you
your guys'?
I have a correction to make. I have a correction to make. He was nominated for best screenplay.
Oh, boy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, before all our
adapted
fans
screenplay.
complain.
So I thought you were.
Good catch.
I thought you were just goofing.
Apparently, Todd Phillips is credited as a writer too. Story by.
Emmy Award winner.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I keep checking every week to see what's new that's coming out, and there's limited things. I'm trying. Next week I'm probably going to look into some indies that are on Amazon Prime that I heard were good. I'm just kind of trying to explore some stuff. Just have a little bit more time now. So, and like I said, I'm pretty excited about WrestleMania, which is next weekend. So it's going to be weird not having a WrestleMania party. I usually have WrestleMania parties, so I don't know. That's going to be kind of weird, but
Skype, WrestleMania Skype party.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, the other weird thing about WrestleMania is that's 2 nights now, so they split it up into 2 nights, which is also weird. But I actually think they should always do that with WrestleMania, because WrestleMania's been like 8 hours the last few years, and that's way too long. Just like
I bet they do. I bet they keep that format going forward.
They should.
This is their excuse to make it 16 hours now.
Yeah, well, they probably would do that, but still, it's like with music festivals. Like, people go to 2-day, 3-day music festivals and don't expect to see everything. If you only go to 1 day, like, you pick and choose, or you pay the money to go to both. So just make it 2 days. It'll be easier for the audience. People will love it more. But anyway, I don't need to talk about wrestling anymore. This is the Monthly Movie Dispatch, and we're signing off anyway. So
I've been kind of interested, paying attention to what movies are holding their release dates and which ones aren't.
Totally.
Like, which ones are really banking on the theaters opening up and being like the big movie to go see.
Yeah.
We should maybe make a bet, like, off screen, of when the movie theaters are going to open back up. Like, what weekend can you go and use your AMC Stubbs A list?
I think I already know. I think I have my weekend picked.
You don't know for sure.
Wait, do we want to do... No. Well, I have, like, when I bet they...
Winner makes everyone else watch a movie.
I was going to say, wait, are we doing the summer movie wager?
That will be our summer movie wager.
Well, that's the thing, is that the Summer Movie Wager, at least through Slash Filmcast, like, they don't know if they're doing it either. Like, it's totally up in the air. They don't know, because no one knows what the summer is going to look like. No one knows
your picks might not even be released.
Right, like Fast and Furious the Fast 9 is coming out, or I should say F9 is coming out next summer. Like, they postponed it a whole year, so. They've already committed to that, so that's off the table for 2020. And so it's like Wonder Woman got pushed back to August, I think. Like, everything's getting pushed back, but
Tenet's holding strong in its July release.
Right.
I think they're
pay off big.
I know, that's what I think. Like, those movies that are going to be kind of early after the theaters open are really trying not to delay, because that's going to be
the only movie.
Yeah. Imagine the movie theaters open, Tenet's the only thing. Everyone's going to see Tenet. It's made $1 billion.
Like, everyone's been cooped up at home for 3 months and Tenet comes out.
Yeah.
It's going to make so much money.
Oh, it's going to be on the top
on top of it probably being
grossing
like a
movies all
freaking
time.
awesome movie too. Yeah. Like, what a way to jumpstart the industry.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think Soul's the same way. It's like right around the same time.
Yeah.
And that's like the only movie Disney has on its slate right now that it hasn't delayed. So
Totally. Okay, so off screen.
So when do you think, Derek? What's your date? What?
Don't tell them now. Yeah, we'll do it off screen, because I
are we
want
doing
to
a
think
game?
about it a little bit. So we'll text each other what day we want to pick, and then that'll be our next contest, and the person who's closest will make everyone else watch a movie like normal. So that'll be fun. That'll be a way to make this whole thing fun. So
Yeah.
anyway, I don't know if I'm going to be on the next episode, because they'll be right around when I'm having a new baby. So either way, whether or not we're back or not, I don't know if I'll be on it, but I'll be with you guys in spirit either way. So
We'll be with you in spirit, Nick.
yeah. Anyway, so take it easy, everybody. Try to take care of yourself. Stay safe. Stay sane. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. And I love you. So,
Love you too, man.
Love you guys.
Love everybody.
See ya. Bye.
ya.
Peace and love.
Bye.
Bye.